What's up, everybody? My name is Jesse, and I'm the founder and grandmaster of MMA, Mexican Martial Arts, and I'm also the founder and creator of the Below the Beanie podcast. Now, I know what you're thinking, unless you are a faithful Spotify listener or Anchor or any of those other streaming platforms that I never even heard of in my life, but Anchor was like, hey, we'll put you on these ones as well, so you feel important. You can see me right now in a much different scenario than usual. I won't go into a whole long thing about it, but I feel like the curse continues regarding the Below the Beanie podcast. The audio software that I usually use for this podcast sent me an email, and my payment method was rejected. Don't even trip. It's good. I got some funds, but it's that one card that's a problem. I'm about to have 11 cards in my Ridge wallet instead of 12. I need to get rid of that card. But I can't use my regular recording software because it was giving me problems. And then I was texting Marilena and I was like, hey, what happened? And then she's not texting me back. So then I thought, oh, there's another thing I could use on there. I'm going to try that. And then I couldn't find the laptop that I usually record my audio on. And I looked everywhere. I cannot find the laptop. So do I suspect foul play? Yes, I do. Do I suspect that it has anything to do with my most recent TikTok and Marilena's tripping? Yes, I do. But I'm here, and she can't stop me from going Mexican Fight Companion style on this computer. So that's the way the Below the Beanie is going to go today. It's going to be a little bit more low budget. I know you already thought I couldn't get more low budget, but I'm always here to surprise you. So I want to start out first. I was going to say talking about the UFC event because I know that at the end of the day, that's why people are here. But I want to mention real quick, my sponsor for this Below the Beanie episode. Dang, this is already 5, huh? I think this is episode 5. I was going to say part 5. Is my Patreon and my YouTube membership. People have been joining that, and I want to say thank you very much. That's the best way you could probably support me if you want to help the channel keep going and thriving. People ask all the time, what's better, Patreon or the YouTube membership? I think you get the same stuff. Every time I upload videos or post whatever, I make sure I put it on both. Patreon does let me keep a little bit more, but it doesn't matter because I know for the viewer experience, YouTube membership is probably better for you because you're already here. It's already built in. You don't have to go to some external website and wonder if they're going to steal your identity or whatever. So you could just stay right here if that's what you want. I post videos in my Vincent character that I have created. Ironically, if you want like the actual Below the Beanie, it actually does get quite below the beanie in those videos. Like literally, there's no beanie to be found. But that's up to you. I just want to throw it out there. That's today's sponsor. Thank you, those wonderful sponsors for supporting the show. And I'm not very pleased this morning with what's going on with Green Tea, the Kirkland relationship or lack thereof. I've been trying my best to reach out to start. I mean, at least do my part in starting that relationship, and I feel that they have not kept up their end. And for the very first time, I'm representing the Lipton bottle in this episode. I was about to pour the Lipton into that Kirkland bottle this morning, and I said, "Chale, for what? For what?" I've been giving you ample opportunities, Kirkland, to come through, and I've been hearing nothing. All I hear is crickets. I'm not sure if that's how it goes, but I know that's the words. And I want to say that I'm a little bit hurt, Kirkland. I'm a little bit hurt because I've been rocking with Berkland. That's why they don't sponsor me. I've been rocking with Berkland since far before Below the Beanie ever even came into existence. So all of a sudden, I'm out here trying to rep you and trying to share my love of you with the people, and I don't hear nothing. Just that radio silence. And today I'm rocking the Lipton. I want to say thank you, Lipton, for being at the store so I could buy you. And if you want to hit me up, then do what you got to do. So UFC 261. I don't think anybody's going to argue that was the best card of this year. I know it's only April, but I mean, based on what I'm seeing coming up ahead, I'm not very confident that anything's gonna beat it either. I mean, like, you could put one main event in one of those. You could put something exciting if you want, but I mean, even the ones, all of a sudden, Marilena's trying to call me back. Oh, hold up. Now I gotta tell her. Kick rocks. Hold up. All right, there we go. So it makes sense to me that it was the most exciting card of the year because it's the one following the Jake Paul event. And I think Dana White from the beginning knew that he was going to have to do something very special. I don't know if you saw the Triller event. I don't know if you were able to witness that. I do have a breakdown about that coming out very soon. So I will lay out the happenings of that event. If you did not want to be one of the people that was able to claim that you saw that, I know there's a group of people out there that want to be able to say, I've never seen that. I don't want to see it. I don't want to have nothing to do with it. Like, they take some pride in that. Like the way that I am with Star Wars, there's a lot of people out there like that. So I respect that. And I envy you a little bit. But because of the life that I've chosen and the line of work that I am in, I'm kind of obligated to. So I did watch the event for you. And I will be releasing that breakdown very shortly. I thought I would have released it already, but, you know, I'm a little bit slow. So Dana White knew that he was going to have to follow it up with something big, and I respect that. He's the smart man. He's the second coming of that Vince McMahon. You know, I think we've seen that as much papas as we could talk about Dana White and all the crazy stuff that he does. I think we have to admit, who said it the other day? Somebody? I mean, it's probably somebody that I don't even like. I don't know. It's not like it was like the most. It's probably better that I don't say who it was, because if I say who it was, then you guys are going to be like, oh, that fool, who cares what he says? But somebody posted something like, hey, look at Dana White. I know we could say this and that about him, but look at the sport that he's taken from basically being illegal and being like a circus to being like the most. And you know what? The way that that's worded, it sounds like someone could say the same thing about Jake Paul someday. Now that I think about it, how everybody's calling it like a circus and a carnival act and all that. Imagine Jake Paul's like the next Vince McMahon. But anyway, it was an unbelievable event. It was unbelievable. And sometimes, you know, like, I'll even admit it. Sometimes I'll be watching fights. I'll be like, I don't even know who this is. This fight is boring. Let's get to the next one. I feel like every single fight was exciting. And it took me a while to get into it. Like, I'm looking at the names right now. I'm looking at Kuling Iori, wait a minute. Oh, that's the early prelims. Okay, I was right. Because I was about to say, I actually don't know if I saw from the start. But I recognized that fool Jeff Molina's face right away. So I didn't even start streaming until I think it was the Dwight Grant and Stefan Sekulik fight, like in the middle of the prelims. But the pre-prelims, I was seeing those while I was setting up and getting ready. I had a lot of stuff going on. I was behind. And man, they were like, oh, like bangers, you know, like every single one of these fights was exciting. These fools were going at it. I think a lot of fools had their debuts and stuff like that, and they were just trying to put their best foot forward. But that Jeff Molina fight, like, I'm not going to go through every single one because, to be honest, I can't remember the details. But if you haven't seen the card and you have a subscription, I don't even know. I know sometimes it takes a little while to get from USPN Plus to Fight Pass, and both of those websites are really glitchy, so sometimes I forget when I go back. But if you have any of those, or you have like MMA Core, or, you know, whatever, some kind of website that you could go back and look at all the different things, the whole card, like, don't just go look at the main card. The whole card was crazy. Fools knocking each other out. Rodrigo Vargas and Zhu Rong went to decision, but I remember those fools. It was getting heated. I remember one of those fools was like 21 or something. He was like real young. And he was like trying to make a name for himself, trying to prove himself. And then Rodrigo Vargas was getting like all loked up. He was like, you could tell he was getting mad. He was getting a little bit emotional during the fight. It was just fun to watch. And then you got Dana Batgirl and Kevin Navidad. And that one was crazy too. I think that's the one. That was the round round one knockout. There was one of them. I think it was actually. Oh, it was the Kuling Iori one and Jeff Molina. It was that one. It was crazy. Like, I don't want to tell you, but then I also want to tell you because you're probably not gonna go watch it. But Jeff Molina was piecing that fool up. Jeff Molina was like outclassing him and just boxing him up. And then I wouldn't say that he got overconfident. I actually think he just got tired. So it was like there was like 10 seconds left in the final round, and Jeff Molina's like, "Hey, fool, I could only punch so much longer." Like, and he was like clearly winning. And I remember I even said it in the stream. You could go watch a Mexican Fight Companion if you want. I'll give you a break to go like scope it out real quick right now. I take a green tea break. And we're back. I even said it in the Mexican Fight Companion. I was like, hey, wouldn't that be full if at the last second this guy came back and he knocked him out? Because I don't even know either of those fools. I don't care. I don't have anything vested in either of them. I just wanted to see something exciting. And I was like, that would be so funny if he knocked him out at the last second. He landed a couple, shook the guy. Like, you could hear Joe Rogan. I mean, Joe Rogan does the same thing no matter what. But you could hear the whole audience like, oh! Like, oh snap, he's gonna come back at the last second, and I thought it was gonna happen. You know, Mystic Jesse strikes again, and it almost did, but Jeff ended up winning anyway. Dana Batgirl, knocked out Kevin Navidad like early, and I felt kind of bad because they were saying that Kevin Navidad guy's kind of been having a hard time since his UFC debut, and he even had to hire like a UFC or something like that psychologist because he's been like, I guess he was dealing with like a lot of problems with pressure and fighting under the lights and stuff like that. Because back in the amateur fights, they used to fight in the dark because they couldn't afford light bulbs and stuff like that. So now when he get under the UFC cage and stuff like that, like it was getting inside his head, and it was messed up. It's like when you watch American Idol and they tell the whole emotional story, and you're like, oh snap, he grew up like that. Oh, I want him to win, and then he comes out, he's like, and it's like, oh man, come on, bro, you gotta help me out. You gotta meet me halfway. You can't just play with my emotions like that. I'm rooting for you, and then all of a sudden, and then Carl Roberson, Brendan Allen. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think I remember that fight at all, and I think that was like right when I was in the middle of about to press start, cause then Dwight Grant and Stefan Sekulik, I remember. And look, I know a lot of people are gonna say I'm being racist. But at this point, I'm just going to let it bounce off because people say that you're racist no matter what anyway. I kept wanting to say during the Mexican Fight Companion, I was like, nah, it's not worth it. But I felt like I was watching a young Eddie Murphy fight Stefan Sekulik. And if you think that I'm wrong, then come at me. Come at me. I don't got a racist bone in my body. When I was born, they thought I did in the X-ray, and they took it out. I almost took a green tea break right now by accident because I'm actually thirsty. I still have a scar down here. But Carl Roberson versus Brendan Allen, I don't even remember, but it says submission, and I'm kind of upset because it's a round one submission. That was probably a pretty good one and exciting, but I don't even remember it. Dwight Grant versus Stefan Sekulik. That was a decision. That was probably the most boring one, to be honest. I remember when I started the stream, I started talking, saying what's up to everybody and watching that in the background. And I just kept thinking, like, the whole fight was so boring. All I kept thinking of is, that fool looks like Eddie Murphy. And I just wanted to say it, but I was like, nah. Alex Oliveira and Randy Brown was next. Touch and go. The homie touch and go. I was excited because I was like, hey, I know that fool from Instagram. It's so crazy to see him in the UFC now. That's bad. But that was a crazy submission. I don't know if you saw it. He choked that fool out with one arm. He gave him the rear naked with one arm. He's just kicking back like this. Just with one arm and everything, just chilling. Like Nick Diaz style. But imagine actually accomplishing something with that position. Not just like chilling like that for a photo op, but actually winning a fight with it. That was crazy. Shout out to Touch and Go. I didn't know what was up with the whole beef, though. That was crazy. I was like, what happened? Like, Randy Brown was mad, and he was, like, yelling at him or something. Didn't want to have nothing to do with them. And then Alex Oliveira was like, yeah, you know, same thing to you. And then Oliveira came up to Randy Brown, and he's like, all right, fool, let's squash it. And then Randy Brown was like, no, not yet. Get out of my face. And I was like, whoa, what happened? And then after the fight, Joe Rogan's like, hey, fool, what happened? Why are you guys mad at each other? And he's like, I'm gonna let you know. Well, you gotta go to my Twitch stream later. I'm gonna tell you then. It was like when they used to plug stuff on Jay Leno, you know, and they got something like spicy, but they're like, you gotta buy the book if you want to find out. He's trying to promote his Twitch, and I was like, that's a good idea. That's smart. And I completely forgot to go watch it, so now I don't know what happened, and I'm a little annoyed. And everyone in the comment sections and stuff like that was trying to figure it out too. As far as I know, nobody still knows, so I'm not sure. We get to the main card. And you got Valentina. Oh, wait. I forgot to extend the thing right here. You got Anthony Smith and Jimmy Crute. Look at. I thought that Jimmy Crute was going to win. Because Anthony Smith seemed like one of those fighters that he was just like, I don't really need to win anymore. I just work here, you know? And he surprised me. And I don't remember exactly. Yeah, I think I'm mixing up the Crute fight with the Weidman fight. Because at least Anthony Smith actually did. If I remember correctly, he got him like Sean O'Malley style. Like Chris Weidman, he did that to himself, you know. Or I know a lot of people are saying that it was like that juju or whatever from like Anderson Silva. And, you know, you could take that any way you want it. You know, you could, like, everybody has their different opinions on that. But Anthony Smith, you know, credit to him. I think he actually, he did land it. Like Chito Vera style. And he just put Crute's leg to sleep. And I'm talking about literally. Because I was telling people in the stream. The way that I saw Crute walking around. As soon as I saw him, I was like, oh. That's like when, you know how when you sit down on your leg. And you're watching TV or something. You're like that for a long time. And your leg falls asleep. And then you try to get up. And it's like you almost fall down. And it tickles real bad. See, like you can feel it when you're sitting. And you have like your legs. Like I'm going to do it right now because it's comfortable. You could feel it when you're sitting on it. You could feel it. That was my chair. That was not me. We've talked about this in the past. I am planning on getting a new chair. When you're sitting on your leg or something like that, you could feel it go to sleep. And you don't mind it because I forgot to turn my fan on. It's hot. And you don't mind it because it feels good when it falls asleep. It's kind of like a little, like, it's like a crazy sensation, you know? And it's good as long as you're sitting down and you can enjoy it for the time being. But then when you get up, then you're back to reality. And then there goes the gravity in your leg. It just, all the blood starts falling down. And you can feel it like going back to place. You're like, oh. And I'll be like trying to slap it and stuff like that and kick it on the floor. I almost sprained my ankle when I was a little kid. Because I was slamming my foot on the floor pretty hard. Because I didn't really understand what was happening. But that's the same thing that happened to Jimmy Crute. And like completely went to sleep. It was dawn. And he was trying his hardest to walk on it. And I felt bad for him. Because there's like nothing you could do. You got thousands of people watching. You're on the camera. You got the coaches. You got the ref. Everybody sees it. There was a moment where I was like, fool, stop putting pressure on it. Just like drag it. Just drag it like Willy Wonka style or something. You know, just drag it like right behind you. Like don't even try. But then they, for reals, they would have ended it. They would have been like, fool, you can't fight anymore. So he was trying his best to just land, like to walking heels or something. You know, he had that funky lip. And he wanted to fight it. He wanted to come back out, but they wouldn't let him. And then he got mad and he's trying to sock the cage and stuff. And he's falling all over the place. I felt bad for him. But that was it. He was a good sport about it. Anthony Smith was happy that he won a fight. I mean, it seems like Anthony Smith is like that's. I mean, he seems like a nice guy. I don't want to talk papas and stuff like that, but it's the same thing with like John Jones. Nah. I'm not gonna go there. It's not the same thing. Because if I go down that road, then I'm saying that Sean O'Malley's undefeated. Completely credit to Anthony Smith. He landed the kick and he got the result. That's a good victory for him. I was about to say that it's like the same thing as John Jones. That it's like, man, that's messed up. The only time Anthony Smith could win is if it's like a disqualification or the other guy just can't continue or something like that. But hey, props to him. Because the other fool couldn't continue because of what he did. So, I mean, he did his job. And then the next fight was Uriah Hall against Chris Weidman. I don't think anybody could have ever expected what will happen in this fight to happen, aside from Anderson Silva, of course. I remember, and I want to say this real quick. I forgot to address this before the Crute fight. I said in the Mexican Fight Companion, I stated it very clearly. And I'm going to state it even clearer after I have some green tea. Hold up. I remember like right before the main card started, I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I was like, I don't know what it is, ladies and gentlemen. But I know that something crazy is going to happen. Someone's going to like not be able to continue. I don't know if it's going to be a disqualification. Someone's going to get hurt. Something like crazy. Like I kept saying that. I was like, I don't know what it is. But something weird's going to happen. I kind of went on about that for a little bit. And everyone's like, oh, snap. Like when the Grandmaster speaks, you got to like, what is it going to be? You know? And people are taking it seriously. And then that happened to Crute. And it was crazy. I mean, if you didn't see the event, then you're not really right there with me right now. You know, if you saw the event and you saw the way he was limping and hopping and falling all over the place, and it was so dramatic, and the back and forth and the frustration, you'll know how. If you were able to see how dramatic that was, then you'll know how like crazy it was what I predicted. And then after like that alone, I was like, oh, I was right. I was right. But then, Uriah Hall and Chris Weidman. And it was the first round. 17 seconds. 17 seconds. Chris Weidman threw that leg kick. Oh, man. It looked like something from like... It almost looked like something from like a cartoon where like his leg, he was trying to wrap the bottom part of his leg around Uriah Hall and like pull it out from underneath him, like trip on. Like he was going like, get over here. It was like Chris Weidman had just seen Mortal Kombat and like he was influenced and he was trying to bust a scorpion on that fool with his leg. Because they won't let you take chains in the cage, you know? Like it's ironic because it's made out of chains, but they're like, nah, that's too far. You want some chains, they're right there. But also don't grab it and don't hold on to it because her thing will slap you. But that's the best we could do. So then Chris Weidman was like, I got you. And used his leg instead. It was crazy. It was crazy the way it just flopped around. Oh. As weird as like when when you go fishing and it's like flopping because it doesn't want to be there and it wants to go back in the water. You could see his foot flopping because it was like, nah, Charlie, I want to go back to my leg. But it couldn't. I'm assuming that's how it goes. I've never been fishing. I don't like fish. I think seafood is disgusting. Come at me. But I mean, I felt bad for that fool. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't feel bad for that fool. But a lot of people were pointing out like, hey, do you remember how much Chris Weidman was celebrating? And going all crazy when that happened to Anderson Silva? They were like making a comparison because they were looking at Uriah Hall being all respectful and being emotional and being such a nice guy, and they were comparing that to Weidman. They were like, look at how that fool was acting. Forget that fool. So that's very interesting. That's an interesting take. I'm not gonna say because of that, like, yeah, forget him. I don't respect him. Let's laugh at him. I'm not gonna say that. Did I laugh? Yes, but it's not because of that. It's like one of those things, you know, like if like your grandma, if you're like helping your grandma at the store and she falls down, you feel bad and you're trying to help her up and stuff like that because that's your grandma, you know, and you don't want her to be embarrassed, you don't want her to be hurt. But then if you see someone else's grandma over there, you're like, hey, grandma, look at that one. That grandma doesn't know how to walk. I got the good grandma. Like that, that's messed up. That's messed up. Because I wouldn't do that, but I've seen other people do that. I don't think I've ever been to the store with my grandma. But Uriah Hall was a gentleman. Uriah Hall would never, I don't feel like he would ever laugh at anybody's grandma. And Chris Weidman, he went on the stretcher. And a lot of people, I think the most surprising thing about that fight and the way that it ended was that Joe Rogan did not interview Chris Weidman while he was on the stretcher. That is the thing that I think shocked the most people. And I got to admit, I said it early on in the card that it felt good. and I wasn't trying to like make a political statement or anything like that. But it felt good to see Joe Rogan back in the cage. It felt good to see Jogan right there, standing next to the fool, and interviewing him like that. It felt like, it felt like this was like 2009 or something, And I'm mixing up my years. I meant to say 2019, but everybody was talking about how like he was interviewing some people that maybe they felt like he shouldn't be because they just got knocked out and stuff like that. And Joe Rogan said that he would never ever interview people after they got knocked out, but he also said that the moon landing was fake in the past, and now he's letting the government manipulate him, and now he believes that it was actually real. So he's a flip-flopper. So he's all over the place. So it's hard to stay on one thing with what he says. Like, he'll have one doctor on, and he'll be like, "You're the smartest fool I've ever talked to. I bow down to you. I believe you." But then another doctor comes on, and he's like, "Oh, man, that was like a foot doctor over there. He doesn't know nothing compared to you." And then he has another, I don't know. He used to do that MMA show, and now it's like he has that doctor one. I can't even... I just look at the thumbnails these days, and I'm like, "Hey, fool, get someone like Adam Sandler, and I'll watch," or something. Like, I don't even know. You'll have some fool on these days, and it's like some like third level Freemason or something. It's like, fool, that's not why I was listening to this. But fool has more random people on than my Theo Vaughn. But anyway, Chris Weidman was crazy. It was crazy. I think a lot of people saw that and they're like, "Oh, he's done." Because even before that, people were saying he's done. Chris Weidman, like, in people's minds, he's been done, And then this, that was like the icing, And then he's like, "Nah, I'm coming back. I just need some time to recover." And it's like, people are like, should we tell him? Or like, he doesn't know that he's been done for like even before this. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's one of those things that, like, it's unfortunate. It's one of those things like you want to stay, because the thing that drives you to be something like a fighter and a competitor, it's that same thing that doesn't allow you to stop at the right time. It makes you keep going. It makes you want to keep competing, keep winning, if you actually are winning. That same drive will make you want to fight until you finally win again. But I think Uriah Hall gained a lot of fans that night. I never cared about Uriah Hall like at all before this fight, to be honest with you. I didn't dislike him, but I just was like, it was like, "Oh, that fool? Oh, okay, whatever." It was never like a big deal to me, but I saw that, the way he conducted himself, and I was like, man, that's like a cool guy. That's like someone I feel like I want to root for. After that was Valentina Shevchenko and Jessica Andrade. And this was one of those fights, like, it's kind of like just filler. Because it kind of like surprises me every once in a while, like when people say stuff like, I don't know if anybody actually thinks that anybody could be Valentina, or if they're like I don't know if it's one of those things where like everybody watch Mayweather just to see him lose, and even though Valentina is likable, people watch her just to see her lose, just because it would be so crazy. And I know what you're thinking, like, thoughts of Amanda Nunes is probably coming to your mind right now. But I mean, if you feel like Amanda Nunes beat Valentina, then you probably also think that Anderson Silva. If you think that Nunes beat Valentina, then you probably also believe that Adesanya beat Mero Mero. So, I mean, you're like the same person. So, I mean, even though that fight did seem like just filler, because it's like, all right, Anthony Smith, Jimmy Crute, Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman, Valentina, Jessica Andrade. Oh, Valentina's gonna win. All right, Weili Zhang, like, it was obvious. And if you picked against Valentina, if you picked against her, then you're just like that one fool that's just like trying to play like devil's advocate, You're like that one person that's just trying to mix it up and make people go like, "Whoa, what are you talking about?" Like, just trying to start conversation, because I don't think anybody in their right mind thought that Jessica Andrade could win that fight. Jessica Andrade didn't even win the fight against Rose. That should have been a legal head spike. And you could think about that one while I take this green tea break. Did you let that marinate? Rose outclassed her. Made her look foolish. Rose was dominant, poised, in charge. And then Andrade's like, hey, I'm going to do this illegal thing real quick. And nobody said nothing. I remember that night I was looking everywhere. I was looking on forums. I was looking on the comment sections. I was looking at every video I could find, listening to different commentators. I was like, is anybody going to mention this illegal head spike? Oh, no? All right, cool. We're back in Pride again. Now, look, if we're going to go back to Pride, then let's go back to Pride. And let's say it, and let's stick by it. Let's be consistent. But don't tell me that you can't do someone like Mighty Mouse and knee him when he's down. You can't do that. But, like, Aljamain, or what's that fool's name? However that played out. Don't say you can't do stuff like that. But then you could head spike. So, whatever. Everybody knew Valentina was going to win that. Everybody knows Valentina beat Nunes. And Nunes is like, hey, it's just too hard to go down now. I'm sorry, I'm just too big. Okay. DC said that he's willing to go. Have you seen DC? All right. DC said he's willing to go all the way back down to 205 to fight Jake Paul. I don't know if you heard that. If you missed the event, if you missed UFC 261, DC actually came face to face with Jake Paul. He's putting his finger in his face. He's like, hey, fool, don't play. And he was telling him, like, I'll really fight you. And he was saying to Ariel, he said on the show, he declared it, made the statement, it's official. He said, I will not box Jake Paul. I don't need that payday. He said, I got my money. I made my money. That championship money. He said, but I will fight him. He said, if he wants to get in a cage and get in a real fight, so I could use all my attributes, he said, I'll fight him. He said, I will go to 205 and I will fight him. And Nunes is telling me, like, DC is willing to go to 205 to just quiet this annoying fool that no one really wants to take seriously anyway. All right? DC is willing to do that. And Nunes can't meet in the middle or go down or whatever to fight Valentina, who's like known as one of the greatest female fighters of all time. That she's not willing to do. So, I don't know. Do with that what you will. Then we have Weili Zhang and we have Rose Namajunas. I think a lot of people were split on this one. I know it was a little difficult for me at first because I'm a big fan of both of them. And I know if you saw the fight, if you saw the Mexican Fight Companion, and you heard me commentating, you heard me probably pretty biased toward Rose. And that was very interesting for me because, like I said, I'm a big fan of both of them. Every time any one of them fights, I'm always rooting for them. And when I had to make my pick, I was torn. But once the fight started, I was like, come on, Rose! It was like, oh, snap. Like, I just learned something about myself in that moment. Like, I didn't even know how hard I was actually rooting for her. But, I mean, I said it before. Rose has a ridiculously high fight IQ. She's too smart. And it's just like one of those, I mean, if you look at Rose and you look at Weili, and you're just like, oh, Weili's gonna win, then you're like one of those fools that really doesn't, I mean, compared to like UFC 1, you know? Was that couple hour long infomercial for BJJ where fights were handpicked and manipulated and stuff like that? Yes. However, if you look at Weili and you look at Rose and you're like, oh, that one's going to win, then it's like, oh, so you are one of those fools that thinks it's just all about muscle and about looking intimidating and, you know, that kind of stuff. That's completely disrespecting Rose's fight IQ and all of the knowledge and wisdom she has for the fight game. That's just looking at one being and then looking at another and being like, like how I do my picks sometimes. When people are like, all right, place your picks right now before the fight. So I'm like, all right, I never seen that fool. I never seen that fool. But he has a scar. He looks meaner. Okay, I'll pick that one. All right, I never seen that fool. I never seen that one. But I don't know. That fool's nose kind of looks more like intimidating than that one. So like maybe that one by nose. Like the most random stuff like that. That's basically how people will pick Weili over Rose. But knowing things about them, that's disrespectful. And look, I like Weili, but I'm able to be objective. Because I said it in the We Out Here MMA podcast when I collab with them. I said it in the Below the Beanie podcast. I think. I said, look, I like Weili. But I said, I think she's going to come out like Nogano. I think she's going to come out feeling like I'm super strong. I got a lot of power. People are intimidated by me. If I land, she's going to go out. So she just came forward like this. And I was like, Rose is too smart for that. Rose ain't like Rose's strike. She's not just going to stand there. I knew she was going to move. She was going to use that footwork. She was going to be hopping around. And she did. It was like a flawless victory. It was like a flawless victory. It was even cleaner than the Holly Holm head kick. Because the Holly Holm one, it was a little sloppy, you know, like, and look, that sounds stupid. I'm not like trying to take anything away from Holly Holm. That was crazy. And it was calculated. And it probably played out exactly the way she wanted it to. But the Rose one, it just looked cleaner. Because the Holly Holm one, Rose was like on the ground. And then she had to get up and she was turned around and then she had to turn around. I mean, some people might like that one better actually. Because it was like unexpected. Like she turned right into it. But this one, she was just like right in front of her. And she got her to check low and just picked it up. Man, it was perfect timing. The Rose one was more like the Lyoto Machida and basically the Steven Seagal front kick. It was like those knockouts. Where it's just like, oh, you're right in front of me? All right, boom. Like, that's it. Right in front of your face. It was beautiful. And she was very emotional. You could see her in there shaking. And people started booing Weili. And it's weird because like everybody was booing her, but everybody was also surprised. It's like only just the people there were doing it or something. Because people were talking about that after the fact, how messed up it was that people just like with the quickness turned their backs on Weili. How like one day she's a phenom and everybody respects her and loves her and she's crazy and she's a savage. And then boom, just like that, everyone's like, you're done, get out of here. So that was pretty messed up. And you could tell, I mean, she's a tough woman. She's a tough lady. And you could tell when she was in the cage afterwards that she was frustrated, but it seemed like she was like fighting back tears. Like you could see the body language with her translator and the way she kind of like is hanging her head and kind of like trying to hide her face. I felt bad for her. And I sincerely hope that she did leave there and get some more of that Popeye's chicken afterwards to comfort herself. Because it does comfort you. That's a fact. But I did feel bad for her in that moment. And you could tell she just wanted to get out of there. And kind of just like go back to the drawing board, you know? And the last fight, of course, Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal. It was crazy. Look at, people might not agree with me, and I may even technically be wrong. It's not only that people say, nah, I don't feel the same way. I might be wrong on paper. I haven't looked at the scorecards. I don't care. I don't know if I've ever looked at a scorecard. It's not about that for me. But I got distracted right now because I was looking at a picture of Weidman and Anderson Silva. Oh, look it. I have to read that right now. I have to check that out. A lot of people, I felt like Masvidal won the first round. And look, let me talk to you about my pick real quick. I was saying for like the weeks or the months or the weeks, whatever, as soon as we knew the fight was on, the entire time leading up to Masvidal and Usman, every step of the way, I was like, Usman's gonna win. No doubt in my mind. No doubt whatsoever. Usman's gonna win. Usman's gonna win. And let me try to refresh my memory while I have a green tea break. I had no doubt in my mind that Usman was gonna win. He was so much more dominant. Has so many more tools and different ways to win. That mentality, like, you know, I have seen enough fights with Masvidal, and I've seen enough fights with Usman to try to get a sense of their mentality, of their composure, of how they act when they're in trouble, of how they're able to keep their composure, of how they may lose their composure, just all the different ins and outs of how these fools act in combat. And you know, you could try to consider the whole 6-day or whatever training if you want, whatever. There's that. But even considering that, just looking at everything else, it was like, there's no way. There's no way Masvidal beats him. I mean, look at this. This alone, the whole meme of the foot stomping and how it was so rampant. It's easy to make fun of Masvidal and be like, oh, that's all he did. But think about it this way. Imagine being the fool that lost to somebody that did nothing but foot stomp you. Isn't that even worse? It's like, hey, fool, if he really was just foot stomping you, why couldn't you do something? Now, if it was like, he had me in a crucifix and he was ground and pounding me, you know, like Valentina did to Andrade, or, okay. But you could be honest about how dominant they were and something crazy they did to you. Okay, fine. But if you're like, oh, you're a clown, fool, you're not even a good fighter, all you did was massage my feet, okay, then why couldn't you get out of it? So I thought Usman was going to win the whole way, all right? And I want to go back to something real quick. I forgot to mention this about Valentina. The whole thing was like, yeah, it's a filler because she's going to win, obviously. But the thing that Valentina did for the fans, that I respected a lot. She did it for the fans. She did it for herself. She did it for the doubters. She did it for Andrade. For the rest of the fighters in that division, she beautifully, perfectly, dominantly beat Andrade at her own game. That was the crazy part. That was the crazy part. That she could have outstruck her, done all these spinning back kicks, done all this other stuff her own way. But instead, she's like, you know what? People are saying this. People are saying if she wins, she's going to win like that. She could do this and that to me. All right. I'm going to do that to her. And she just completely dominated in the only area that Andrade would even have a shot. She's like, you want to play that game? Let's do that then. She's like so skilled in everything. She's like, what are we doing today? You want to do judo? All right, let's do judo. Oh, Muay Thai? Let's do Muay Thai. BJJ? All right, let's go for it. She's able to do that. So that was like Valentina's little treat to us. She's like, look, everybody, you already know I'm going to win. But so in that aspect, it may seem boring, but let me do this for you. And she delivered. That was amazing. And I respect that a lot. But back to Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. I thought Masvidal won. So look, I said Usman was going to win the whole time. Whole time. So I don't want anybody to watch this and be like, all of a sudden, I couldn't get nothing back from her earlier. And now, I know a lot of people might see me and they'll be like, oh, you look like someone that will root for Masvidal. I see you. Let me see your face real quick. Let me see. Okay, yeah, you're a Masvidal fan, huh? Charlie, it doesn't get down like that. I don't do that. I don't do that with Tony Ferguson. I don't do that with anybody. I don't care what anybody says. Oh my gosh. So she's messing me up. I just want to make it clear that I was not rooting for Masvidal throughout the whole time. All right? Because I know a lot of people like to come in, like Paulo Costa. I don't care about that fool at all. I don't know if I've ever actually, even when he fought Adesanya, I wouldn't say I was rooting for him. I'd just say I wanted Adesanya to lose. It'd be funny if they both lost that fight. I don't care about Costa. Never rooted for him in my life. I just rooted against Adesanya. But then Adesanya wins and everyone's like, oh, your boy, your boy. Hey, fool, that's racist. That's not my boy. So look, I just want to make it clear. I want to make it clear how objective I was. The whole time I did not root for Masvidal, all right? I placed my predictions multiple times in various places. I picked Usman. I did say I wanted Masvidal to win, but I also said, I said it like this. I also said, I don't even like that fool, but I want him to win. And I'm going to go through it super quickly so you'll know why. I want him, and I don't like most of these fools that I'm going to say I wanted to win, but look it. I wanted Masvidal to beat Usman, get the strap. I wanted Diaz to beat Edwards. Diaz and Masvidal rematch because of the BMF thing, but now it's for the actual title. Diaz is finally a champ. That would be crazy. After all these years, it would be crazy seeing Diaz as a champ. That would be entertaining. I wanted Conor to beat Poirier so that will create a super fight and make Diaz and Conor fight again, because Conor will be so high off that win. He'll be like, yeah, I'll go up, let's fight for that title. That we'll finally have our trilogy. Now it's for a bout. Diaz smokes that fool. And then Wonder Boy comes in and beats Diaz, and now Wonder Boy's finally champ. So that was the way that's how I wanted it to play out. But I always believed Usman's gonna win. So then at the last second, the fights, they're coming out. And you know what happened? And I didn't realize it till right now. I didn't realize it till this very moment. Because the night of the fight, I changed my pick during the walkout, and I said, oh, wait a minute. I'm seeing something right now. I'm seeing something in the body language. I'm seeing something in the air. I'm going to have to change my pick. And I was like, I'm going to have to go with Masvidal, because there's something I'm seeing right here, something, I don't know what it is. And I was feeling like that Mystic Jesse flow again. Just like earlier, I had said that something crazy was going on. I don't know how to put my finger on it. And then all those people started getting hurt, and it was crazy. And I was like, all right, I'm feeling it again. So I picked Masvidal. And I asked everybody, I was like, hey, is it too late? Is it too late? Is it too late? I was like, the fight didn't start. It didn't start. Is it too late? And everyone was like, no. Change your pick. Do whatever you want. And I said, I have to go with Masvidal. I have to do it. Go against everything I believe in. I've been saying for weeks and weeks it's going to be Usman. And then I changed it to Masvidal. And I realize right now why. It was like virtually identical. The confidence that I had in Usman leading up to that entire fight, and how dominant I think it was gonna be, and what I thought he was gonna do to him, it was like deja vu. I had like a flashback. I let it get to me of the Ben Askren fight. I remember how confident, how I couldn't be convinced otherwise. I knew he was gonna win. There was no doubt in my mind. I felt like I knew how he was gonna do it. And then you see Masvidal walking out, just dripping confidence, you know, having that cocky smile on his face and stuff like that, and like feeling it's like the way he does it, and you know, it's smart, and you got to give him credit, because obviously he knows how to get in people's heads. The way he does it, it's like, oh, I think it seems like that fool knows something we don't know. You know? And Usman, I mean, obviously you can't do this. Obviously you just can't base stuff like this, because Usman came out and he had this look on his face like, hey, this might be the day. But who knows? He might have been doing the same thing. Maybe he was playing possum, you know? They say that with a lot of people. They'll be like, hey, don't put that sign on your gate that says beware of the dogs. Or don't be telling people like, hey, I don't fire warning shots and stuff like that. People will say don't do that, because they're going to be like, hey, now you're telling the fools to come ready. Now you're telling the fools that you're all stacked and you got, you know, then they're going to come with even more. Don't tell them, you know, act like you got nothing. Then all of a sudden you're going to be like, you know? So I was thinking maybe now after the fact, I'm like, maybe Usman was playing that same game. But I have to admit, during the walkout, when I saw them, I was like, wait, hold on. Let me try to replay it in my mind while I have a green tea break. I was like, wait a minute. And I couldn't articulate it at that moment because, like I said, I didn't realize it till right now. I had that same feeling of when I was so confident that I knew what was going to happen. And then Masvidal proved me wrong. And I saw that look and I was like, oh man. First time he had that crazy knee, you know, and like this time what's it going to be? Like he's going to stick his toe up that fool's nose or something. Like I don't even know, like something that we couldn't even have imagined, you know? And I was like, I told the people, I was like, I don't know what it is. I can't explain it, but I have to change it. I have to. And to me, like I said, I didn't look at the cards. I don't know. You can prove me wrong all you want. To me, through my biased lenses, I guess, it looked like Masvidal won the first round. And if he didn't, it was at least extremely competitive. I would have never watched that first round. I mean, I could watch it again 5 times or something and maybe change my mind. But I would have never seen that first round there that night and think that Usman won. Definitely didn't dominate. It didn't seem that way to me. And I was like, oh, snap. All right. Maybe I'm glad I changed my pick. Masvidal was looking good. He was looking smart. He even got back up from that takedown. Like, he was looking good. I was getting my confidence up. Even in the corner, Masvidal was looking good. He was looking poised. He was looking like everything was going according to plan. Usman looked tired, breathing heavy, looked concerned. I was like, all right. I made the right choice. And then we all know by now how it ended in the second round. And it is ironic. It's like I forgot during the fight that they were in Florida. Like, it didn't even occur to me. And then after the fact, Masvidal was like, man, I never been knocked out in my life. And all of a sudden, it had to be in Florida with all my people. And I was like, oh, snap. Fool is really without honor in his own town. And some people might be like, it's karma, you know? Like, it's kind of like karma because, hey, look, I changed my pick. And I might have been like rooting for him. But that fool ran his mouth for the longest and just built like a career the last few years off of just like being like this hard fool, you know? And then it's like, hey, is that how the comeuppance, you know? Like having to face that in front of all his people after like talking so many papas on everyone else and acting like this savage on everybody all the time. Like, and I don't know if you saw the final shot when Usman punched him. When Usman hit him, he beat the moisture out of that fool. Masvidal was in the back afterwards with the bottle of moisturizer, just trying to get it all back. Like, it was crazy. It was a crazy visual. They said that Masvidal said to Megan Olivier after the fight that he was like, after that punch, he felt like he was like half the man that he was before. Because you know that like, supposedly half of your body is water. That fool was gone. I don't know if it had anything to do with like the weight cut. I know sometimes right after the last weigh-in, people kind of overdo it and they have like excess fluids and stuff like that. But that was crazy. That was crazy. People were talking about that like more than the Weidman break. Like just how crazy it was, all the wetness that came out of Masvidal's head. Man. And he was just out on his feet, fell down. And then Usman started raining down those hammer fists. Of course, in the post-fight press conference, he called them super necessary. The schmo set him up. Respect. And Masvidal took it way, like, man, Masvidal's like trying to make me become a fan. The way he took the loss, you know, he took it really, 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 really well. He was a gentleman, made no excuses, gave him his respect, even put it into words, you know, like saying that fool got his number and stuff like that. And it was like, you know what, he's saying it as clear as day, you know, giving all the respect to that guy. So that was admirable. And now a lot of people are just like, hey, after this, it's like that era's over, you know? What could Masvidal ever, like, even say again? They feel like it's kind of like run its course, you know? After seeing two dominant things like that, it's almost like he's in that Tony Ferguson setup now, where it's like, okay, well, forget the title. Maybe we like to see you fight Diaz again. Or, you know, maybe fight, like, Tony Ferguson or something like that. Something that's just a fun fight where fools are just going to basically box or something like that. It's kind of sad. I don't know. Like, even if you don't root for fools, it's kind of nice to, like, to root against fools and to have the people that you don't like being kind of dominant because it makes things more exciting. But then when stuff like this happens, it's like, oh, snap. Like, how's he going to come back from this? Maybe that era's over. Maybe it really is over. Who am I going to get mad at now? But I want to talk about something real quick. And for Usman, what's next? I don't know. I don't know if there's any. I mean, people are saying Kobe. I thought the first fight with Kobe was very competitive. There were times where I actually thought that Kobe was winning that fight. But I don't know. We always think of the fool that lost getting better, but a lot of times people forget that the fool that won gets better too. I'm kind of getting to a place where it's like, nah, I'm done. I don't know if anybody beats Usman right now. He's too good right now. But I do want to read this real quick, in case some of you haven't seen it. Because I mentioned it earlier. It says, UFC's Chris Weidman fires back at critics who say he celebrated Anderson Silva leg snap injury. He says, anyone saying that I celebrated it is wrong. Okay, that's it. I didn't know his leg snapped. I just thought I checked his leg kick good and he went down in pain, which often happens in sparring. Painful for a short time, but gets better quickly, kind of like a body shot. Huh. That's interesting. It looks like there's some other stuff he said, but I don't want to make this be the episode about just reading other people's stuff. Derek Lewis also predicts that he'll knock out Francis Ngannou in the first exchange of the rematch. Oh, well, he's just trying to build a buzz now. Look, I want to acknowledge something right here. I'm quite aware. I'm quite aware that this podcast was quite a bit different than usual. Not even just because of the setup, but I'm kind of in a funky place right now. I wasn't even entirely sure that I was gonna be able to do this podcast today. I'm kind of running on fumes these days, and I'm trying to. I've been telling you for like the last month or so, been letting you in a little bit on the saga of me and Marilena trying to move, and we're running up against some hurdles. So it's like day and night. We're just trying to figure that out, and it's kind of taking a lot of my energy. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for hanging in there with me, and I'm gonna be honest. I don't have as much fun doing this podcast when I'm strictly talking about MMA as when I just come at you with some other stuff, you know. That's something that I realized during this one. Because this podcast was like 100% like MMA heavy. And I realized that I don't have nearly as much fun as when I don't talk so much about MMA. And if you feel the same way, you don't have to let me know that in the comments and make me feel even worse about this episode. Because I already arrived there myself. So, but And if you say that you like this one better because it was all MMA, then I'm not gonna listen to you because I didn't have as much fun. I will try to have some chicken sandwiches over the next week so I could talk to you about them on episode 6. So hopefully that can turn things around a little bit. If you made it this far and you want to support, not even just the podcast but the channel in general, then please go ahead and leave a comment that says green tea. I'm not trying to tell you what to comment. I'm just saying sometimes people are like, hey, I want to support, but I don't even know what to say. Just say green tea. The analytics see you doing that, and they think you like my channel, so it helps me out a lot. Yeah, UFC 261 was the best card. It was crazy, and it's probably way too long to watch. But I left the Mexican Fight Companion live. It's still up on the channel from that event. And I said it during the event at the end. That was probably the funnest Mexican Fight Companion I've ever had. I had a lot of fun in it. People were being very entertaining in it. We were having a good time. So that is still up if you have any interest in scoping it out. It was a very fun event. And I don't think it's going to be topped this year. Even if there is one that has like a big fight or whatever, even like a John Jones fight, no one ever buys this fight. So it's like, I don't think we're going to top it. But thank you for being here. I got to call back Marilena now. Even though I called her first and she was the one ignoring me and now she's tripping. But that's how it goes. Thank you for watching Below the Beanie. Appreciate it. Good looking out. Late.